The Chiefs are about to be terrifying. Hollywood Brown's back, and we're going to talk about it. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom, ACU crew. We hope you're doing well. Appreciate you being here this morning. Do your boys a favor, hit that like button, help this get out to more people. And before we get the show started, Mike, tell them about BetUS powering this live stream.
Yep, this is powered by BetUS. Head over to betus.com. Check out what they got going on right now. If you use the code YouTube150, you get 150% deposit match bonus on your first deposit. On your next two deposits, you're going to get 125% deposit match bonuses. Those are up to $2,000, so take advantage of all those free plays. The site's easy to use. There's plenty of props on there. Go to betus.com. Use the promo code YouTube150. Let them know All Chiefed Up sent you their way. Steve, we got some big news today.
Huge.
It actually dropped last night a little. It dropped a little bit in the evening hour. Some people missed it. Some people seen it. Hollywood Brown is expected to start practicing this week for the Chiefs, per NFL insider Nate Taylor, Steve. That's what he said. And then he goes on to say the earliest that he thinks Hollywood could return is against the Texans. However, the target date for him to return is on Christmas against the Steelers. So, round of applause.
Yeah. Hey, round of applause. Round of applause for Hollywood Brown. Round of applause for Nate Taylor for horning up the entire Chiefs Kingdom. Rock solid last night, baby.
The blue in the chew is what he did. And look, this should be, the thing says that this should be a terrifying thing, and it actually should be. If the Chiefs are 12-1 and you're getting back a guy in our offense that we do not have. Like, we do not have a guy like Marquise Hollywood Brown in our offense. We don't have a guy that beats man-to-man pressure consistently. That's what he does. This is going to open up the offense to the next level. The only thing I'm worried about is not playing so long and not being with Patrick Mahomes all season. We've seen a little bit of the chemistry stuff. So let's hope the chemistry picks up and gets going. But, man, Hollywood Brown should be scary to everyone else to see that the Chiefs are 12-1 and you're about to get back the biggest weapon we signed in the entire offseason.
Right, but then you went and traded for D-Hop. He's also good against man. And Patrick Mahomes has been taking advantage of that somewhat. But, I mean, you just have like a really well-rounded receiving core when Hollywood Brown gets back. And I'm saying that, and can you name another receiving core in the entire NFL that is that good with depth? I mean, you got D-Hop, you have Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju's your 4, I suppose, and then you have Travis Kelce as your tight end. I mean, that's a pretty good crew to have, especially when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. The running backs, we got Pacheco back. You got the 1-2 punch with him and Kareem Hunt that's working if Andy Reid allows them to run. There's just the one glaring problem, man, and is that going to be the Achilles heel for this team?
Yeah, it's still left tackle. We know it. I don't know how good the information is that I'm hearing, but I've been hearing that DJ Humphries, the whole hamstring thing, he feels okay, but they're going to be cautious and they're not going to play him this week. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to see when it starts coming to practices and things like that. So DJ Humphries is probably not going to go this week versus the Browns. That puts Wanye Morris versus Myles Garrett. For the love of God.
Oh, no.
What? Like, I feel like this is the week we should just go ahead and sit Patrick Mahomes.
Might need to for the safety of your franchise.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and let Pat just rest up. Get him that extra bye week. You know,
we got to do something, Mike.
I'm positive Carson Wentz could go out and get the dub.
But yeah, we're going to talk more about Marquise Hollywood Brown. But Michael Flores with the 5 bomb says, let's get this started off right. The kingdom is blessed, baby. Let's go. Round of applause for Michael Flores.
Appreciate you, man.
Hope you're doing well, brother. But yeah, man. So what do you think Hollywood Brown? You said he's good against man, and that helps a little bit with that whole thing. But you know what? Across the board, I think they should be solid against man coverage. D Hop's winning most of his reps. Hollywood Brown's going to do that. Xavier Worthy wins a lot of his reps. So I mean, they should be straight. And then as far as a lot of teams have been playing us in the zone, though. Travis Kelce does Travis Kelce things, but not to the extent that he has. Noah Gray has stepped in and has been pretty damn good at taking care of some of that stuff. What do you think Hollywood Brown actually brings to this offense? Like, as far as, does it really take it to the next level? If he's healthy and he's playing
Yes.
and there is some chemistry there, does that adding that one more piece to an already kind of star-studded offense, does that kind of kick it up a notch to where we're scoring 30 plus a game?
It should, theoretically. I do think Hollywood Brown is a guy that's going to beat more people man-to-man consistently. D-Hop can do that, but D-Hop man-to-man beating people is, if he gets you on his hip, you got to put it in a tight window and he's catching it. He's not beating you by 5 and 6 and 7 yards. Now, Xavier Worthy, on the other hand, can do that. But the timing issue is a little bad. And Xavier Worthy can get pressed off the line, and he can get things like that. Now, look, Hollywood Brown can get pressed off the line. He's not the biggest guy in the world either, but he's pretty savvy. The thing about Xavier Worthy is he's starting to learn how to get open in a zone. You've seen that last week with the Chargers. He got open there at the end of the game. He got open a few times in the zone. D-Hop can destroy a zone. D-Hop can beat anybody anywhere. That's the beautiful thing about D-Hop. He is a true number one. He can beat a zone. He can beat man-to-man. He can beat it if you put 12 people on him. Okay,
he's even if he doesn't win the rep, he can still catch the ball if you throw it his way.
Right, and that's the thing. But that's what Hollywood is going to offer you. Hollywood can be lined up anywhere from the slot to out wide, and he can beat his guy within 2 to 3 seconds, and he can make a catch, and he's got the speed. The good thing about it is that he had a clavicle injury. Okay, it's an upper body thing. Now, look, he could still, take a hard hit. He could do things like that. But for the most part, it's not a knee. It's not an ankle. It's not a lower body. It has nothing to do with his speed. He should have been able to keep all of his conditioning up. There shouldn't have been any problems with any of this. It shouldn't have hurt his hands. We seen him last week catching balls. So it shouldn't have done anything like that. It was just protecting him from hits. That's basically all this was protecting him from getting hit until that healed right. So I think he comes back, and I think he's very effective. My only thing is, again, the left tackle position, getting Mahomes time to throw the ball, and getting them synced up together. To me, that's it. If you do that, they should be able to hit 30 points a game easily.
Well, so we know we have a left tackle issue. Even if DJ Humphries is healthy and back, of course he's going to continue to get better and better as he gets his feet under him, because he's been out with an injury for a year. But don't you think the $1 million question is, how is Andy Reid going to utilize all these people once everything's set? I mean, and even if you're having a problem at left tackle and Patrick's not getting as much time as usual or whatever, or he's not comfortable, I think you have to find ways to get the ball out quicker. And is that something that Andy Reid's really going to have to lean into? Maybe some screen passes, some stuff like that, getting the ball into the hands of the playmakers like Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and even DeAndre Hopkins. Like, we got to get them the ball quick if we can't let the play unfold. If that's really the case here,
right?
But Mike, you can watch a lot of other teams. You can watch the Bengals. Joe Burrow doesn't get a lot of time, but he's making throws. His offensive line sucks, and
they're horrible,
right? So it's like, how do we counteract that? I mean, I understand it's a glaring problem, and it's very, very hard to win when you're not protecting your quarterback. But at some point, is it just the left tackle and the right tackle that's the reason why the Patrick's not protected? Is it not play calling? Is it not what he's doing? There's got to be ways to counteract this. So how do you think Andy should use these pieces now that he's got a plethora, if you will?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, he has to commit to the run game. The run game is going to prevent the Myles Garretts from teeing off on you. The run game would have helped last week more and more and more. The run game is the great equalizer, especially when you have Pacheco and you have Kareem Hunt and you've even got Carson Steele. They've went away. Carson Steele's barely getting 1 carry a game tops. In a pinch, Carson Steele can run the ball. I have no faith lost in Carson Steele over those 2 fumbles.
He can't pass protect.
Seriously,
that's what's
like
killing
20
him.
weeks ago. Yeah, I'm not worried about the pass protection, though. If you're in there to run the ball,
Agreed.
then you don't need to pass protect. So that's the point. You've got 3 capable running backs who can definitely chunk off 1, 2, 3 yards. You can chunk off 3 yards any given carry, but if you need 1 yard, if you need a half yard, if you need a 4th and 2, those all 3 can do it. So you've got to start there. And he's got to get back to running. Like, he's got to protect Patrick with the play calling a little bit as well. You touched on it. He's got to get the ball out quicker. He did it in the first half versus the Panthers. He got away from it. He got away from it all last game, 2 weeks ago. And then against the Chargers, he started getting the ball out a little bit quicker there. And it was to protect DJ Humphries a little bit. Well, guess what? Wanye is not very good. I'm sorry.
He's struggling with it.
Yeah, I thought he had a chance to come in, see DJ Humphries was coming in and be like, look, I'm going to fight for this job. And he didn't do it. We've said this countless times.
Right.
That's not saying that Wanye was awesome, and I thought Wanye was going to beat DJ Humphries, but I thought DJ Humphries was going to have to fight a little harder to take the job from a grown adult that knew that you brought in his replacement. But instead, Wanye just laid down, and it was ridiculous. So Wanye, if he plays this week, is going to have to fight a little bit to get back some trust, in my opinion. Do you want to be here? How hard do you want to work? You don't want a guy that just is fine being a backup. You got every guy on the team's got to be fighting for that. So Andy's got to do a better job of protecting Patrick with getting the ball in the playmakers' hands.
Well,
and they've got to run the ball more.
It starts with running the ball. That's the biggest problem. It's funny because we know that Wanye's not that good. We get it. He's struggling over there. Guys are working him.
He's just not a left tackle.
Well, and here's the problem, man. If you know this, then why the hell are you passing the ball for sometimes, 20 plays straight? Because this is allowing really good pass rushers to pin their ears back, not have to respect the run at all, know they're going straight after the quarterback, and they are working a young tackle. Like, they're kicking his ass. And it's like every week, there are a ton of, like, premier pass rushers in this league. Like, they are damn good at what they do.
Every week we're going up against the top one.
There's so many of them, dude. They're all really good, and there's young ones that are going to get there too. I mean, even with the Broncos, like with Nick Benito, he kind of popped up in the last year or two, and it's like there's young guys that's going to be doing work too. They're not going away. It's a pass rush league. Like that's the name of the game.
Have 2. That's why it's not easier on Taylor either over there.
That's the name of the game, and we've talked about that with our defense. Like, hey, get pressure on the quarterback. It makes things a lot easier. Everyone does that. Everyone knows that.
And we've got how many top-tier pass rushers?
It doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter is Andy Reid has to run the ball to make them respect the run and to even consider that they have to defend the run. Because if they know they're pinning their ears back every play, Wanye's getting beat.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Everybody knows that Andy is not going to run the ball very consistently. Now, there's a big stretch of the season when Kareem Hunt was carrying 20 plus per game. And do you necessarily want that? Probably not. But the fact that you have 2 guys now, and you've definitely got a third one in Carson Steele that's capable to carry 5 and 6 times a game, you can find a way to get those 3 running backs 25, 30 carries a game. I'm telling you, if you can do that, 30 carries a game, you're going to control more clock. You're going to rest your defense more. You're going to pound teams into oblivion. You're going to take away their pass rush. You're going to take away their aggressiveness. Exactly. And then Mahomes can still throw the ball 25, 30 times a game. That's completely fine. You're going to run 60, 70 plays a game. So run the ball for 25, 28 times. That's what you've got to do. When Andy Reid is getting there and his backs are running 5 and 6 times a game, well, guess what? At this point, they're just going to tee off on the quarterback and hit the running back on the way to him. You're never really truly respecting the run game.
That's correct. But, Mike, we've been saying that for years. Can we at least get 20 carries, Andy? Just 20. And it's very difficult.
He did that a few times this year with Kareem Hunt, and I thought that's when our offense was starting to look better.
Well, last season, he also did that, too, towards the end of the season. That's when the team started to look a little better. Like, during the playoffs and everything, he let Pop eat, so... real quick, Mike, want to shout out Greg Goodwin with the 10 bomb, baby. He said, got me a new vehicle. The Ubernator is back, baby. Let's go. Good to hear that, Greg. Thanks for the 10. And then we got Gil in the house. Our boy Gil. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Thanks for the 10. Thanks for supporting the show, fellas. Yeah, man, I think it comes down to that. Just run the damn ball. The old adage, run the damn ball. Is that got to be the theme for this team from now on? I think it does. And then if you flip the script, Mike, and you want to talk about the defense, we've got to put pressure on the quarterback. And you have to be able to do it without all these exotic blitz calls over and over and over again. Like, we can't afford safeties getting in one-on-one matchups. We can't afford things like that. So our front four, it's in the trenches, man. It's the trenches, right? Like, offensive line's got to step up. We got to run the damn ball. And then on defense, we got to get some pressure. I think it opens up a lot of things. And I just think, do you think, like, if there was one particular thing that could really open up this team as far as offense goes and really be able to utilize all these pieces they've been able to acquire, do you think it's just running the ball simply?
Yeah, I do. I think sometimes it gets a little, you get enamored with, okay, you have DeAndre Hopkins. You're going to get back Brown. You've got Worthy. Those are three big playmakers. You've got Mahomes. You've got Kelsey. Pass game, pass game, pass game. But sometimes you have to throw body blows too, right? You have to throw body blows too. You can't just go swinging for the head all the time. So you have to wear these guys down, because those little nitpicky 3 and 4 yard carries that you're picking up in the first and second and third quarters, those turn into knockout blows in the fourth quarter with a guy like Pacheco. To go back to your point, last year in the playoffs, Pacheco had 24 carries in the wild card game versus Miami. He dropped down to only 15 versus Buffalo. So they took away some of his carries there. He went back up to 24 versus Baltimore. So he had 2 out of 3 games, 24 carries. And then, of course, San Francisco in the Super Bowl, he had 18. He didn't get as many there, but that was still more than versus Buffalo. And I just think versus Buffalo, that game was such a weird game, and it just felt like you didn't need to do things like that. Like, there was a lot of times Patrick Mahomes just got in a groove and just did what he needed to do. Well,
that's true, but also you just kind of want 20 carries, and it doesn't have to just be Pacheco. So, I mean, as a team, we
right. So,
over that.
other guys. You know what's crazy? Carson Steele, everybody's like, 2 fumbles, fumbleitis. You know how many Pacheco had 2 fumbles in the playoffs alone last year?
Yeah, dude, in the Super Bowl.
And then people are so easy to go after a poor undrafted free agent and just be like, destroy this guy.
No, man, I do. I think that's a big reason of it. But appreciate you guys being here, by the way. Do your boys a favor, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, you should subscribe, hang out with us more often. We just talk Chiefs almost daily. But yeah, we were talking about Hollywood Brown's back. He's back at practice per Nate Taylor. So if you're just rolling in, that's what we're talking about. Pretty exciting news, right? I mean, getting a piece back that you thought was going to be maybe your best receiver this season. But of course,
he was number 1 on our free agency wish list. Right. Across the board was Hollywood Brown. He was our number 1, and in the middle of the night, did Brett Veach make our dreams come true?
Well, he waited till the last minute.
Yeah.
And then he got him for cheap, and it was great. And they could, at some point, like, this team's set where it's at. Like, people they'll talk about, well, now we need to get Donovan Smith because DJ Humphries might be hurt. And I've seen a lot. Yesterday, KJ Osborne was waived from the Patriots, I believe, or somebody. I don't remember who had him.
Boy, I'd have liked that move, though.
Yeah, and that's great and all, but
knowing that you're getting Hollywood Brown back.
That's what I'm saying. How many pieces do you need before you can make it work? It's like I can play a game of chess, and I can have all kinds of pieces sitting on the side of the board that's not doing anything. But I mean, like, eventually you got to use what you got, and you got to win.
Yeah.
I think that's really the name of the game here, and I don't particularly think it's the players at this point. I do think it's coaching. Not saying that the coaching has been bad. I mean, we're 12-1, but I do think a lot of the little things that could be tweaked here and there to make this team really start firing. I do think it's maybe simpler than people think. Obviously, you need to protect Patrick Mahomes, but you got to find ways to do that, right?
Right. It's almost, we've seen 2 different dynamics, one on the offensive and one on the defensive side. On the offensive side, minus Kingsley Suamataia getting pulled in week 2. And look, that kind of proved to be a decent thing because I don't think Kingsley was ready. But your backup was Wanye. And Wanye outplayed Kingsley to a certain degree. But if Kingsley was graded an F, then Wanye's a D. You're still not passing there. Okay.
Right.
So you needed to have done something. Was DJ Humphries always the plan? Why couldn't they have looked why couldn't you have brought Donovan Smith back just a little earlier to take a look if he wanted to play?
Right.
Why couldn't you have went out and got Bakhtiari or just looked at him a little bit? You had other guys out there. I want to say Charles Leno's still out there, maybe. You've got a few guys, okay, that they could have looked at, but instead they decided to go young. Kingsley got just kind of in over his head, thrown in the deep end very, very quick. He didn't just get thrown in the deep end, but he got thrown in the deep end with no swimming lessons. This dude can't doggy paddle. He don't even have the little arm floaties, and Andy Reid had his foot on his head, pushing him underneath, putting him on an island 75% of the time. So there was a weird philosophy there. And then on the defensive side, you had guys that have been here 2 and 3 years that have been proven to play very decent in situations, such as a Josh Williams, and yet they were left to rot on the bench for weeks and weeks and weeks. So you've seen two different theories here. You've got the defense has chosen to just game plan crazy and switch what they do and put safeties in one-on-one positions, and let's throw in Najee Johnson, and then let's rotate Christian Roland Wallace, and let's do everything but play, certain corners on the outside or do this or do that. And then you've got the offense who kind of just did it differently where they trusted I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels like everything's been going and just I feel like both sides are a little bit trying to do too much. Andy just needs to get more simple, back to the basics with the play calling. That's it. Run the ball, get the ball out quicker, and Spags has got to figure out a way. And look, a lot of people keep saying Trent McDuffie belongs in the slot. He's a slot corner. I will agree. When he come into the league, I said Trent McDuffie was a top 3 slot corner almost instantly. But he's not that right now. He's got to play outside. Right? I'm not just trusting just Josh Williams and Najee Johnson to play outside. I'm not just going to trust Josh Williams and the new cat we just brought in, Steven Nelson. I'm not doing that and just moving McDuffie strictly to slot. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
You can't do that. No.
You can't take your best playmaker on defense in your secondary and just make them cover the slot. Like, you cannot do that. Like, he's going to have to, and we said this at the beginning of the season a little bit. Remember, I said this. I was like, why? I don't think there's as much as a CB2 problem as there might be a CB1 problem. I don't think they're super confident that McDuffie can be a lockdown CB1.
But, other than one or two games, he has been.
But he has been.
Yeah.
He has been. So I will give him credit. He had a couple tough games, but look what he did against Jamar Chase. He shut him down. I firmly think McDuffie is a top 5, top 10 corner in this league easily.
Absolutely.
But you've got to have. But Spags has got to trust more of his guys than just putting Chamari Connor one-on-one on the slot and the tight end.
It's
or
not
whatever
working.
You're doing there. That's not working.
There's two things that's obviously not working. And one is Najee Johnson, and the second one is Chamari Connor. Like, whatever you're having them do right now, it's not working.
Well, they're putting the safeties in a lot of bad positions. Brian Cook has kind of got exposed a little bit in the past game, and he's lost a lot of his snaps now to Jaden Hicks.
Right.
But, Justin Reed is just not a 1v1 kind of guy. Like, he's just not. And that's not knocking Justin Reed.
That's not what either of them are.
It's not what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And Chamari Connor's not supposed to be doing this either. So the point is, if you felt so good in the preseason, Steve, you felt so good that it's time, last year, Khalif Hallisey's gone. He was a promising young corner. I posted this on X. A promising young corner that was physical. He was long. He was a Spags DB prototype.
And he played damn good in the preseason. And he played great.
That was the best preseason you could have asked for, and he didn't make the team. They shipped him out. And then this season, Snead comes up. Now, it was hard to pay Snead. It really was. But Snead gets shown the door because McDuffie's your CB1. And now McDuffie needs to be moved back to the slot. Like, make up your mind. What's going on? And on top of that, Kelvin Joseph was fighting pretty hard. Keith Taylor was fighting really hard. Keith Taylor's got a few snaps, nothing more. Echo Boy Doe looked pretty good for the past few years, and they just give up on him. He's completely out of town. He got a tryout yesterday with the Giants, I think, so he's still out there playing. But you had all these guys. You went out and signed Eric Scott from Dallas when Dallas released him, and you brought him to the practice squad. You've got Darius Rush. You've got Nick Jones, who we drafted and can play versus the slot very well. There's so many corners there, but it feels like the corner position is just falling off the hill.
But it's not. We know that's not what it is. That's the thing.
No, it's something to do with just how they're scheming it, and they're just not trusting it.
You're getting no pass rush.
Now, honestly, I trust Nick Jones to come in and play the slot. At least give him a look. If you thought Christian Roland Wallace was it, and he beats out Kelvin Joseph and Kamal Hadden, who you drafted and they shipped out of town, he didn't even make the team after not getting any playing time. I know he had a piss-poor attitude, but the dude didn't even get a chance to play, and he's gone. Marcus Peters had a crappy attitude. We just signed a guy with a crappy attitude.
Yeah.
So it's not about crappy attitude. People said that, hey, it's not about that. Grow up. It's about winning in this league. Well, if Kamal hadn't had a bad attitude, who cares? Go put him out there and see if he could play football. And if he did, we'll live with the bad attitude because that's what everybody's saying to do now.
Right. And by all the tape, he can.
He was prototype SPAG guy.
Yeah. But here's the thing, man. It's not a corner issue. It's
I
just
don't
not.
think it is either.
It's a pressure issue. We have got to get consistent pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. That's all there is to it. We're allowing them to sit back there comfortable, drink a little bit of tea, smoke a cigar.
Have a little hot dog. Have a little
Like, there's been several scoring plays this year. I can recall at least two. One being Joe Burrow, one being Justin Herbert, where they have 6 to 8 seconds to throw the freaking ball. I'm sorry, but
pass rush.
If you have 6 to 8 seconds, it doesn't matter if we kept L'Jarius Sneed. If L'Jarius Sneed was in this defense with the pass rush we've had, he would suck. And I'm telling you 100%.
He would still get burned.
He let up more pass receptions than anybody. He had more penalties than anybody. He was a product of a very, very good pass rush and his physicality getting people on the line.
Last year was his top-notch season last year. That's why he got paid, was last year. And last year we ranked at the top of pressures and sacks in the league. And this year not so much.
Bro.
We're not doing it. Like, we're up there in pressures. We're pretty close, I think, when we're saying pressures, but we're not bringing the quarterback down. But, Steve, that's the whole thing I want to talk about just for just a few minutes. And I thank everybody for being here, spending your morning with us. Hats off to you guys. You know, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you like good conversation about the Chiefs, because we can blow smoke up your ass all day, but sometimes it's just fun to have, to talk football a little bit. And sometimes talking football is a little dirty. Okay, you got to get in the trenches here. But Steve, everybody, CB2 is a problem. We can't stop the big pass play. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's all corner. Dude. Even down to the fact that we can't rush the passer. Okay. Big deal. If you look at that and you thinking that our defense at 12-1, if you think our defense is the problem right now, you haven't been watching anything. Our defense is the fact that we got 4 Hall of Famers and a Hall of Fame head coach on offense that can't put the ball in the end zone in the red zone.
That's tough. That's a big.
Dude, who cares how bad your CB2 is? We've give up 17 points 2 weeks in a row, and we're winning by the skin of our teeth. When Jalen Watson was here playing at his top, we give up 18 points per game, somewhere around that. Without Jalen Watson, we're giving up 21. 3 points, a field goal difference. A field goal difference. And everybody's bitching and moaning about a CB2. A CB2. Oh, Nazi give up this play. Oh, he give up this, he give up that. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the defense has not done anything to lose any games this year. There was one game, the one game we lost, the defense could have stopped Josh Allen on the 4th and 2, and we had a chance, okay? But the defense, you're going against Josh Allen, and it came down to a 4th and 2 that Josh Allen just made a good play at the end and got in the end zone, and you probably should have let him in the end zone anyway because they would just need the ball out anyway.
Well, you do know that the Buffalo's the only team that's put 30 on this defense.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The only team. And here's the thing.
So why is the defense becoming the focal point and the CB2 is just the outlier position that we all want to harp on? Like, what are you saying? We would have been 13-0 with a CB2? I don't know, because the CB2 wouldn't have stopped Josh Allen from getting a 4th and 2 running play when Spags had us in zone.
Well, Buffalo was the only team that hung 30 on our team, right? On this defense, they're the only team that's done that. And here's the thing about it. 30 points for Buffalo is below their average scoring.
Exactly.
And another thing is, excuse me, it's this offense, like you were saying, Mike, to your point, they're not putting the ball in there. They're not sustaining long drives. There's a lot of 3 and outs. A lot of penalties,
right?
That are stalling drives, things like that. If this defense had the luxury of not being on the field all the damn time, it could be a totally different story. But the thing about it is, with the offense that we have, with the players that we have, and the coach and the play calling that we have, it should be no problem to win a game when a team scores less than 30
Yeah,
points.
I don't know how many times that you can just say it.
Right.
If you look at this team and you think the defense is the problem, you're not. You have no idea what you're watching on the field. The problem is we're not putting 7-point touchdowns on the board. And the problem is we're in key situations. We're going 3 and out. The offense isn't running 4-minute offenses properly and keeping the ball. How many times have we had to punt the ball inside of 3 minutes and give it back and let the defense win the game for us? We've done that 3 or 4 times this year. So that's what I'm saying. You've got one side where people just want to dog on CB2, basically a rookie in Najee Johnson, or Josh Williams, who come out of Fayetteville State, or Christian Roland Wallace, who's not played many snaps, or we're mad at Chamari Connor for missing this, or this, but yet you cannot mention that Patrick Mahomes and this offense, they've not had all this time to shore up this offense and not fix the left tackle. Because let me tell you something, rolling this long with Wanye and Kingsley and going into the season with just Wanye and Kingsley was a big-time blunder by the Chiefs, in my opinion. If you wasn't going to trust them and let them work through their lumps, which they've kind of let Wanye work through his lumps, but you didn't let Kingsley work through his lumps at all. He got trashed.
Like, Trey Hendrickson beat your ass, you're never playing again.
Yeah, you're never playing again. And then
we'll put you in cold against Nick Bonito and see if you can stop him.
Yeah, he did have to come in cold there, and he still looked bad. And look, I don't think that was still a bad – I think that may have been fine because Wanye probably was better than Kingsley at the moment. But still, going into the season, knowing that Kingsley was your – and then everybody's like, well, they look good in the preseason. That should have given you a little indication that maybe our pass rush isn't very good. If Wanye and Kingsley was doing enough to look good in camp against our pass rush, and then they come out looking like this in a game.
Well, you got to think, man, who rushes from that side for us?
Mike Dana.
Exactly. Or Felix.
And Felix. So it's like, okay, he beat Mike Dana and Felix. Good rotational guys, serviceable rotational guys, I'll give you that. And Mike Dana's had some great games here. Don't get me wrong, like Mike Dana. But he's not a top-tier pass rusher. So what gave you any indication? You should have seen one of two things. Either Wanye and Kingsley wasn't equipped to be in this league, and you should have been like, wow, they're getting beat up by Mike Dana, and they're getting beat up by Felix. Or, and that kind of was probably it, because I remember in camp, everybody talking about Felix was starting to look good. And then when the game goes around, not so good. But you should have seen one of the two things, like either our pass rush kind of stinks or our tackles kind of stink. But you can't let them both just equally stink and then get out to the game, and then that be the big issue now. You know, going into the final stretch of the season, we're still looking at left side and pass rush. It's still the two things we're not generating.
Right. Well, I don't think it's a personnel problem. I don't. I think all the pieces are in place now. It's just utilizing them. And I think it's just little things, man. And here's the thing about it. If anyone knows how to win with what we have, it's Andy Reid. But what we have proven this season is that this team knows how to find a way to win, which is what you have to have come playoff time. Because games are going to be close. They are going to be ugly. But we know how to find a way to win. They just do. And you can call it luck. You can call it whatever you want. But I'm sorry, but after 12 games, it's not luck. Like, they're finding ways to win because this team knows how to win. Now, if you start making it a little bit easier on yourself, it could, let us breathe a little bit easier as fans to where we're not sitting around about to have a heart attack the entire game.
Look, can we talk a little bit about – let's do this after the break. Let's take a quick break. Let's take like a minute break here, and you guys watch this ad from Manta. They're helping sponsor this episode. And when we get back, we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind just for a few days about the coaching. So – today's show is sponsored by Manta Sleep Mask. You got to check this out. We weren't big believers in sleep masks. I thought they were going to be too big, too hot, too bulky. But Manta Sleep Mask changed that perception for me. These sleep masks are so comfortable. You can change the cup around your eye and find a custom fit. That way the mask finds your comfortability. With these pillows around your eyes, you feel zero pressure. And with a 100% blackout technology, you can go to sleep anytime, day or night, no matter how erratic your sleep schedule is. You can go with the sound mask, the pro mask, the silk mask, or just the sleep mask. You should go check out their website by clicking the link we have provided for you in the description below and read up on which option sounds best for you. But regardless of which mask you choose, use our code ACU10 at checkout and receive a 10% discount that we have secured through Manta Sleep for you, Chiefs Kingdom. Again, Steve, that's Manta Sleep. Go check out Manta Sleep. Props to them for shouting out or for sponsoring our episodes, helping all Chiefed Up grow, getting them out there. That's a great gift. Manta Sleep, go check them out. Use
Mike, before you go on your rant, though, you rant, Mike rant part 4 has to wait. We got a 2-bomb from Greg Goodwin. He says, is EB a smart option for the playoffs? That's one of the options I put in the poll. It's like, what do you think to get this offense firing on all cylinders? I did put a new OC just because people complain about Nagy. I just want to see where people are at with that.
Yeah, well, they're not ever going to change an offense coordinator midseason.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's never happened in history.
Could EB come in and be like
an assistant to a player personnel
an advisor
assistant
or something? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think they'll do it.
But I don't either. I think EB, I hate to say it. I really do hate to say it, but I think what you've seen from Eric Bieniemy post-Chiefs, this shows you what Eric Bieniemy is. And I think that's why he never got his coaching job that he wanted and everything else. I think it is exactly what everybody thought. Like, he was good because he was with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know. I digress. We got a 5-bomb from Chief and Rick, baby. He says, Wanya needs to use one of those braids and pull his head out of butt.
Jeez.
Man, something's going on there. I feel like Wanya could play better than he does.
I just think Wanya's at a disadvantage. He's not a left tackle.
He is. First of all, young guy, right? Big step from college to the NFL, and then you put him out of position, and then you don't help him.
I honestly feel like Wanya would be a hell of a guard. His body style, just everything about him. I feel like he could be a good guard in this league, but I just do not see left tackle. It would be a stretch for me to want him at right tackle. But I think at a guard, he'd probably do okay. I think he's got the body style for a guard.
I believe so, man. So it's hard to put it all on Wanya because I feel like the situation's not the greatest, but he's not what they're trying to use him for. But
look, Wanya may be a hero. What if Brett Veach could not figure out a way to get Trey Smith signed, and then Wanya was to win the right guard spot and just be great in the next 2 years?
It's a possibility, right?
There's always a possibility of something like that. So this is why I feel like we shouldn't just completely degrade people into the dirt sometimes. Because sometimes you're just out of spots, and sometimes you're asked to do things that you just can't do. Steve, if I asked you to go out and build me a house, you may do your best effort, but that SOB's falling down.
Probably.
Because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So do you want me to sit there and degrade you while you're doing it? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you're giving your best effort here, but you're just not equipped to build a house.
But it's a little bit different than that. I mean, Wanya is an NFL offensive lineman.
He's an offensive lineman. He's not an NFL left tackle. Let's put it that way.
Del Monte with the 10-bomb. He says, bruh, relax. I get it, but dog. We knew this was going to be rough in the offseason. And no, Willie Gay underneath. Appreciate the journey. I don't know if we really suspected it to be that rough, Del Monte. I think a lot of people thought a left tackle situation had slightly improved. I mean, because Donovan Smith wasn't good. Let's be honest here.
If
people
he was
think,
great, they'd have signed him.
There's that thing where people think he was good now that they've seen what they see this year. But I don't think he was really necessarily good. I mean, you have to think back to Orlando Brown Jr. Everybody hated him. They ran him out of town. He was much better than what we've had. So, I mean, the grass isn't always greener. And I do think that the left tackle position it's a blunder. Just completely ignoring that's been a blunder. But do they miss Willie Gay a little bit? I think at times they do. But I still think our linebacker play is good. I think we got good linebackers.
I mean, Willie Gay never panned out to be what they thought Willie Gay was going to be.
No. He had too many injuries, and then, like you said,
he wasn't that great in pass
coverage
either, if I'm not mistaken. He was supposed to be, but he wasn't that great.
Willie Gay had a lot of speed, though, that you could use against quarterbacks like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, stuff like that. But I think our linebackers have done a pretty decent job this season. So,
But yeah, I think Drew Tranquil done a very good job of filling the Willie Gay role. And Drew Tranquil has actually been he's been one of our top rated
He's a solid player.
he's been
Like,
one of our
he's
top
not-
rated guys at
He's not
shutting
always
down the pass.
flashy. He's not always going to be out there doing crazy stuff, but he's a solid football player. But
Look, Willie Gay, in his final year in Kansas City, he had a 38 coverage grade. Good
Right.
night. 38? That's not even in the ballpark of an F. The dude give up, what did he do? He gave up 313 yards in coverage and 2 touchdowns on the year. So, I mean, if you compare that to Drew Tranquil, that's not even close. Drew Tranquil's crushing that. So
appreciate the 10, Del Monte. We got 2 from Cali. He said, should we stick with the quick game on offense? Absolutely. I've seen a lot of people talking about this in the comments, Mike, and I'm glad that Cali brought this up. And then we'll get to what you wanted to talk about, Mike. I didn't forget. But real quick, I've seen a lot of people in the chat that have brought up that this team looks a lot better when they're in like a 2-minute offense or when they're in a no huddle situation. And could they do things like that to help move the ball down the field, keep the defense on their heels, and stuff like that? And the answer to that is absolutely. I think they could utilize that. Will they? Probably not. That's not going to happen. But do you think if they took like a 1990s Buffalo Bills route and just played a no huddle offense a lot of the time, do you think that would really wear a defense down or help the Chiefs move the ball more effectively? What do you think about it, Mike?
Well, there's drawbacks. If you're running play, yeah, you know the play and you can wear down the defense, but you're also going to be tired. You also got to remember you got a 35-year-old Travis Kelce on the field.
Yeah.
You've got some, you've got offensive linemen. Well, Tooney anyway, he's a little older. You've got D-Hop. Like, these guys are not just going to sit there and run like I get the sentiment. The sentiment is to get the ball out quicker and to be faster. And they did do that last week. And I mentioned they did that versus the Panthers in the first half. And you've seen flashes of Chiefs football a little bit. Like, it looked, yes, it became like quick passing game. Get the ball in the hands, passing more horizontally than vertically. Getting it to like Mecole Hardman on the boundary or somebody like that. And shout out Mecole Hardman. He had a successful surgery yesterday, but he's going to be out for now a few weeks. That takes
About
another
Nico,
guy
baby,
out.
though. Nico finally got his shot.
We replaced Miko with Nico. So it's one of those things. But the Chiefs have to do that. Like, you have to start using Worthy in that kind of role. I don't think Worthy is as bubble wrap boy as we think he is. Like, he shows a little bit of toughness, to be honest. Like, he even looks to deliver a hit sometimes, and it's kind of weird. The dude's like 77 pounds soaking wet, but he'll try to hit you.
Well, I think it all goes back to running the ball, though. I really do. I honestly think if they would just make it a point to give those guys 20-plus carries and to make teams respect the run, I think that allows your offensive line to breathe a little bit because it's just not pin your ears back and go. And at that point, when you're running the ball successfully, which we would with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, we're going to run the ball pretty successfully 90% of the time. I think that allows bigger plays to come and more time in the pocket to come for Mahomes because it's not just we know this is a pass, let's go balls to the wall in the pass rush. I think they have to respect the run. It gives you even that fraction of a second is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So I think that could help. I really think that's where it lies at.
Well, what do you do in a 2-minute offense? What do you do? Usually the defense is stuck in a prevent. Okay, so that helps. They usually will give up the middle of the field because they don't want you to get out of bounds. So that helps. Usually you're just going back and picking off 7-yard, 8-yard passes. Sometimes they'll blow a coverage and you'll get 13, 15. But usually it's just quick dinking and dunking over the middle of the field. But that's not going to be like that
Right.
if you just start doing that all game long. And usually, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But I do understand that, yes, there is a sentiment of being faster. Play with more urgency. That's another thing. The Chiefs just don't play with any kind of urgency. The offense doesn't look like they're just out there to score. They look like they're just out there to, like, exist. I don't know. It's weird at times. But
yeah. Appreciate it too, Kelly. Bam, been a member for 9 months now, says, Mike, does PFF Pro show a percentage at which a player is winning their reps? I'm curious how bad Taylor has been compared to how bad he has looked. That's another thing with Jawan Taylor. I feel like the last 3 games he's looked much worse than usual, and that could just be me. But
they're not going to say how many times he's won a rep, I don't think, but I think they might have a stat on here that's pretty similar. Let me try to find it for you. A lot of people hate PFF. I think PFF is a good tool to use to grade, to confirm what you see with your eyes. So, for example, you're asking, Bam's asking if there's Jawan Taylor's winning his block. So what they've got is something called an efficiency grade. So an efficiency grade is, and I'll read you what it says on their key. So an efficiency grade says pass blocking efficiency, a PFF signature stat measuring pressures allowed on a per snap basis with weighting towards sacks allowed. So in other words, it's not your win-loss, but it's how efficient you are at keeping the quarterback clean, right? So his best game this year statistically was versus Cincinnati. He got a 100% efficiency. And if you look at the board, what did he do? 38 pass blocking snaps. He had 0 pressures allowed, 0 hurries, 0 hits, 0 sacks. So that was a great game. Okay. The last 3 weeks, actually, Steve, you can go back to the last 4 weeks. He's looked really, really bad. His 4 lowest of the season were the last 4 weeks. He had a 92.9 versus Buffalo. And that translated into 1 penalty, 4 pressures, 2 hurries, a hit, and a sack. Atrocious.
Does this have something to do with what we've been talking about? I mean, we're not running the ball. It's
Possibly, yeah.
Just nonstop.
Versus
pin
the
yours
Panthers,
back, go, baby.
93.6. He'd give 5 pressures. Vegas, just 2 weeks ago, 94.1, 4. And then last week, they're saying last week he actually did a little bit better because he didn't give up the sack. He had 3 pressures, but no sacks were given to Jawan Taylor. He had a 96.5 efficiency grade. And on the year, he's given a 96.4 efficiency grade. Now, I could go and possibly find that compared to all other right tackles in this league and see how high his efficiency grade is. That'll take me a few minutes, and I may do that for you. If not, I'll do it on a tweet. Follow me on X. I'll throw that out on a tweet at some point because that'll take me a few minutes.
Yeah, Mike, our boy Flapjack with the 10 bombs is buying a new TV today. Let's freaking go, Flapjack.
He sent me a picture during the game, Steve, and he said he broke his TV.
He broke it. So you know what he did, though? He broke it so he could go get that 75-inch massive boy to put on the wall. That's what he did. Watching you on my iPhone, Veach is about to piss me off. Mahomes is going to end up like Andrew Luck if they don't stop messing around with this O-line. So I think the narrative kind of has switched now, Mike. I've seen this a lot, but it was they're going to Aaron Rodgers him because they won't give him weapons. Mm-hmm. And now they give him a million weapons, and now they're Andrew Lucking him because they won't protect him. So here's the thing, and I get both of those things, and I totally agree. You got to protect him. You got to make him feel comfortable. I think that's the top thing on the list, right? So once again, I think what they did with left tackle this offseason and the season has been a massive blunder. But you can't have everything perfect all the time. I think there's always going to be something to point at, right?
Yeah. I mean, going back, this kind of fits in with the whole Jawan Taylor thing and everything. If you look and you take full team efficiency on offensive line, the Chiefs are a top 10 team in offensive line efficiency. It doesn't feel like
weird.
it.
It's very weird, but they are.
It's weird. It doesn't feel like it, but that's just how good those middle 3 are. And a lot of guys do not have those middle 3 that good protection like that up the gut. And to be honest, if you had a guy coming right up the middle every time on you, so shout out Creed and Trey Smith and Tooney. If you had a guy coming up the gut, they're getting there faster than these edges that if you can at least get a hand on, maybe Mahomes can sidestep them a little bit. But, yeah, Mahomes, the Chiefs are tied for 9th with San Francisco at an 87 total efficiency grade. Number 1 in the league is Denver at a 91.6. So only 4.6 points separates us from the number 1 team in offensive line efficiency. Right. Now, across the board, does that mean that everybody's offensive line sucks? That's possible too. Like there's top-tier offensive lines in this league anymore. Like you don't see those big...
If you go looking, it's not just PFF either. There's a lot of different websites, a lot of different metrics, a lot of different things.
100%.
and they all keep the Chiefs' offensive line in the top 5.
Yeah,
Like I've seen them, I've seen them as high as 2 on several different places.
It's weird,
which is crazy. It is crazy. Appreciate the 10 Flapjack. Bam with the 2 says we appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Let's go, Bam. Thanks for the gas.
Appreciate you, brother. Hey, Bam, I'm looking that up for you right now, by the way. I found that efficiency thing, and I'll find it for you.
Yeah, you work on that later. But now, just real quick, I want to thank everybody for being here. Hit the like button for us if you have not already. If you're just rolling in, Hollywood Brown is back at practice, according to Nate Taylor, and he could return. They're shooting for the Steelers game. They said as early as the Texans, but probably going to be Christmas Day. So that's what we're looking at with Hollywood Brown. But appreciate you guys being here. Mike, what is this coaching thing that you wanted to talk about before the break?
Right. So, okay. So everybody was so ready last year. It was a huge thing about Connor Embry. Can't develop wide receivers. Can't do this. Can't do that. Right. We all remember that. It's went over into this year. Why has that same outcry not been on maybe Andy Heck a little bit? Right? Jawan Taylor's still doing the same crap he was been doing for 2 years.
Right.
Okay. I get Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, great. But let me tell you something. If those two got drafted to any team in football, those two are going to be top tier. They're good football players. You do not develop top tier football players. Right? You don't have to do that. That's the beauty of hitting them.
They walk in.
You develop young guys that need help. Kingsley has now went all this time, and he stinks. Wanye continues to get worse. Okay. So there's Andy Heck. I don't know the last time we've developed a top tier. We had a couple guys. Orlando Brown Jr. played here for 2 or 3 years, and he stunk. He never got any better. Your right side guy that went off to Washington over the offseason, he got a little better. I'll give him that, but whatever. But I'm just saying, like, there's no accountability there. Take it to the defensive line. What's Joe Cullen been able to do? Derek Nottie has been a massive fail. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a first-round bust at this point, to be honest. Like, he's not developing. Malik Herring's not been able to develop. We had to cut Kando. He was horrible. And I mean, some of these guys had injuries. I get it. It's not all coaching.
You can't polish a turd either. So it really depends on what you're giving these guys.
But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of young players not being developed. And then we want to look at and I love Dave Merritt and I love the defense. But what's the CB room become? We drafted Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Nick Jones. We drafted all these guys. Nick Jones is now on the practice squad. They won't even give him a shot. We all hated Josh Williams. Nobody wanted to give him a shot this year. So Jalen Watson turned out to be the only player that turned out to be good out of that entire draft class. And the McDuffie, he was a top 10 pick. Like he's the equivalent of the Creed Humphrey. Like, you don't have to do nothing there. So I'm just trying to say, like, is there a little bit of a development issue with some of these guys? Or are we just when we're looking back on it, here's what I want to say. When we're looking back on it, are these just turning out to be draft misses? Or are they draft pretty good, but they're just not being developed to the right spot? And I'm just asking the question. I'm not accusing nobody of it, but I'm just saying that Connor Embry got hit hard last year, and maybe rightfully so. But why are we not looking at these other guys and saying, wait a second, you had Nick Jones who was playing some snaps last year, then he gets relegated all the way down to the practice squad, and you don't even trust him? You had Josh Williams who's played great snaps, even all last year. All last year into the playoffs, he played great. He was one of the highest rated corners in the playoffs. And yet this year we didn't even trust him to play. He was a bench warmer the entire year. So to me, it's weird. It's like, what's going on? Like we pulled in Eric Scott. We've got Darius Rush. We've got all these practice squad guys. Echo Boydo, and they're not progressing.
I don't think it's a developmental problem. I don't. I think overall, over the last several years, you've seen this staff develop people well. Even Connor Embry, he was a brand new wide receiver coach last year. He caught all the hell in the world because they gave him.
Rasheed Rice figured it out.
Right. They gave him the worst receiving core I've ever seen.
Worthy's progressed pretty well this
year.
They
gave Connor Embry the worst the receiving core I've ever seen in a National Football League last year, and wanted him to do something with it. And he caught all the hell. But you saw what happened with his rookie wide receiver. I mean, Rasheed Rice continued to progress all year, was the best at the end of the year, and then was really good this year. And in the past, Dave Merritt, cornerbacks, he always develops them well. We know this. I don't think it's a developmental thing. I do think it's a draft thing. I think that
Well,
what they need to do, Mike, is
answer this question though. You just
they
said
need
Dave
to-
Merritt develops them well. Give me 3 corners he's developed well.
Well, I mean, how long's Dave Merritt been around now?
Well, I'm just saying over the past few draft classes, it would have had to be. You had to go back to the Josh Williams, Jalen Watson class. So Jalen Watson, I'll give you, he's played very, very well. But nobody trusted Josh Williams. You drafted Kamal Haddon, and he gets completely cut in the 6th round. You drafted Nick Jones in the 7th round, and he's not even trustworthy. They put him on the practice squad. So how many misses? You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not blaming these people, but I'm just saying, is there a problem?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think it's more of a draft thing. And Brett Veach hits in the draft just as much as he misses, so it's hard to get mad about that. But I do think the key to this is they need to put their pride aside, and they need to let me and you scout.
When was the Jalen Watson draft class? What year was that? Was that 2022?
21.
No, it's 2022.
Was it 22?
So okay. So let's go look. That was regarded as a Chiefs. That was regarded as one of Brett Veach's finest draft classes. Trent McDuffie, 1st round, fine, great. George Karlaftis, 1st round. So you had 2 first-round picks. Okay. Sky Moore, 2nd round. That turned out to be a dud. Brian Cook. People are trying to roast this cat. He's about to lose his job to Jaden Hicks. Leo Chanel looks pretty good, but then Josh Williams, everybody wanted him out. This was considered one of his best draft classes. Josh Williams, nobody liked him. He rode the bench. Like, I don't agree with it, but a lot of people just don't like him, don't think he can play. Darian Kennard was picked. He's completely gone. Jalen Watson hits. Cool. Isaiah Pacheco, great find there. And then Najee. People's wanting to run Najee out of town. So out of every one of those corners, the only 2 that hit is the 1st round top 10 talent. And to be honest, Trent McDuffie was a top 3 talent in that entire draft. And that the Chiefs just got really lucky that he fell to 21. And then Jalen Watson would be the biggest turnaround story because you got him in the 7th round. So, I mean, so essentially you miss on Josh Williams, according to everybody. You're missing on Najee Johnson, according to everybody. You missed on Nick Jones. So I'm just trying to say, like, what's the thing? Because when we're drafting them, and in their first year, they look like they've got plenty of talent. Like, even last year when Nick Jones played, everybody was like, dude, Nick Jones looks pretty good to be a 7th round pick. He made the team. He did everything. And then this year, he just magically is relegated to the practice squad and can't see the field. Josh Williams was good last year, and then this year he's magically on the sideline. Like, I just don't find the disconnect there. And I'm not saying it's anybody's issue. I don't know what the issue is. I'm just asking a question, I think.
Yeah.
And I
I
just
mean, it's a
genuinely
valid
don't
question.
know.
It's valid, but I mean, you see it a lot. We've seen it over the years. We've seen a lot of players that come in with very promising, and just they're gone. They're not even here anymore.
And I understand you can't hit everybody in the draft. You're not developing every single player. Nobody's trying to say that, but I'm just trying to say that when that draft class was taken, everybody was excited about Josh Williams. Everybody was excited about Jalen Watson. In their first few years, they all actually looked good, but then somehow 3 and 4 years down the road, they're all ended up on the practice squad and nobody likes them anymore. Like, it's weird. It just feels like there's a drop-off, right? It feels like...
Well, they signed Steven Nelson, so that should fix everything, right? We haven't talked about that since before he got signed, so let's talk about that for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing. He's on the practice squad for now. I'm sure he'll be elevated eventually. He's been okay in his career. I wouldn't say good. I wouldn't say bad. But when he played for the Chiefs, he was not great. It was a weekly gathering to watch him get burned. And I don't want Chiefs Kingdom to get their hopes up about the Steven Nelson thing. Like, could he come in and contribute and actually play well? Quite possibly. But I would not hold my breath. And also, Steven Nelson is a D-bag. And it's like, it kind of hurt my soul that they let him back in the building. Yeah.
Like, he really does. But maybe he's changed a little bit. Look, I'll say he did look a lot better. He looked a lot better with the Texans. He looked a lot better than the Steelers. Nobody's not saying that. I'm not saying that. Do I completely blame, does he have a point What was our defensive coordinator, Bob Sutton? Did he suck? Yes, Bob Sutton was horrible. But check this out. Bob Sutton was also, and I put this in the short yesterday and everybody conveniently glossed over it. Steven Nelson can't be the only guy that says Bob Sutton was the sole reason he couldn't play football. Bob Sutton is not out there guarding people. He's not tackling people. He's not turning his head around. Okay, that's not Bob Sutton. Bob Sutton didn't teach you that when you play defense, you only look at the wide receiver and never turn around and look for the ball. Like, he never taught. Nobody's teaching you that in the history of the world. Okay, he don't teach you to face guard. But point is, Bob Sutton was the defensive coordinator under Darrelle Revis's rookie year, and Darrelle Revis was completely fine.
Right.
He didn't blame Bob Sutton. Bob Sutton was here the entire year of Marcus Peters. The exact same time. Marcus Peters was here that exact same time. Marcus Peters played just as good under Kansas City as he did in Baltimore or anywhere else. So he didn't hinder Marcus Peters' growth. So where's it coming down to? Peters and Revis, two different kinds of quarterback or corners. That just means Steven Nelson wasn't as talented as those guys, okay? And you're trying to blame everything else. So one last thing about Steven Nelson, everybody, well, his last year in Texans, he was awesome. He had one game coverage grade above an 80, and it was the first game of the season. That was it. He routinely did not score over a 74. He only scored over a 70 4 times, and he scored under a 50 4 times. He was in the 50s 4 times. Josh Williams this year, his last 3 games was a 76.6 and a 73.6. Two games in Steven Nelson's final year that everybody keeps harping on, did he have coverage grades higher than those two Josh Williams grades. So what do you actually think you're getting here? Like, you're not getting this like shut down Pro Bowl, like just lockdown guy. It's just not going to happen. And I'm just wanting people to not get their hopes up. That's it. I'm not actively rooting against the guy. I hope he has a great time here. I hope we win a Super Bowl. But, Steve, I just don't want people to actively think that, kind of like DJ Humphries. We all thought he's going to come in, it was going to be a complete wall, and instead he's pretty shaky.
You know, while you were talking about potential draft misses or bad development and all of that, the only thing I could think of is all the acquisitions over the offseason and during the season that have proved to be a big nothing burger. Like, they've literally went and got Cam Thomas, gone, Joshua Uche, ghost. It's like now Steven Nelson, I don't even expect to see him, to be quite honest about it. I don't even know if he'll play.
Well, he is on the practice squad, so
right, and it's just like it's been strange. It's been very strange.
Do you feel like, and we're about to head out, maybe like 1 or 2 more minutes, but I just want to ask this: do you feel like Chiefs Kingdom and everybody is selling? You're basically selling your soul. We've sold everything. I read this in a comment. Somebody posted this yesterday about selling their soul for a win, and it hit me. I was like, is that true? Like, does it feel like you're selling out just to try to get this three-peat that's never been done? And I get it. It would be great. But are you kind of like going and getting Steven Nelson? Are you kind of killing all the young guys' confidence that's going to be here for years and years that you could keep developing and getting better? Does that make sense? I kind of got the sentiment of what they were saying. Like, you could be developing, say, your Nick Jones, or let Keith Taylor play a little bit more, or let somebody, and maybe you got a diamond in the rough there, but because we're so hard focused on this three-peat, you may push them off to the side and they may never be able to hit their full potential, all because we're trying to win this 1 year.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I thought that was a weird little thing that, could have a nugget of truth to it.
I don't think that's it, man. I honestly do think that we have the pieces in place. I think that this team, from front to back, like personnel-wise, is the best team that we've had in the Patrick Mahomes era.
Agreed.
I think there's a lot that can be done here. There are some problems, but there's problems every year. Like I said earlier, I think this team has proven that they can find ways to win football games, which is going to be very, very useful come playoff time, because you know how those games are. They're always tough, grinded out. I mean, it's win or go home, and it just ends up being close games a lot of the time. But I do think that some very simple things could take place and make this team a totally different thing. So we'll see what Andy Reid goes with. Obviously, we have our full trust in Andy Reid and the staff there to get things done. So, I mean, you can't argue with the record, baby. You can't argue with it.
You know what would be the best thing for this team going forward? if it just hit. Out of all these things,
Run the damn ball. No,
but it would be great if Joshua Uche would just be it. During the playoffs in this final stretch, he just turns into a complete monster. And I just don't see it happening. But I think that helping the pass rush would just be a chain reaction to that defense that would be crazy.
It could be. Well, we appreciate you guys being here today. Thanks so much for spending your morning with us talking about Chiefs football, baby. What better to be doing when you're supposed to be working than talk about Chiefs football? So appreciate you all being here. Do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't. That helps us out. Also, shout out to the people that donated today. You guys are amazing. Thanks for supporting the channel. And also, shout out to BetUS for powering this live stream. And we'll see you next time. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
There goes a sight from my soul.